at 5 of the 7 targets, and we found 197 possible exploits to match against. And we're still going to the last 2, and then it starts actually kicking off the exploit process. So when we actually get a session, it will show up under the Sessions tab, and they'll show up here based on what type they are. And all of your previous sessions show up as well, as long as full history. Now, the cool thing about the sessions listing is, we'll see it when it actually pops here in a second. Every time you get a shell on something through any kind of exploit, through any kind of username or password, it's going to show a link on the right-hand side to basically relaunch that same exploit. So if you come back the next day and your shell's dead, or you've closed it accidentally, or something went wrong, you can click on the link, rerun the same exploit, rerun the same brute force with just that username and password, get your shell again, and keep moving. So, and let's see. Once you have a shell, it's much easier to show off the rest of the features. So this is still crunching through an attack plan, still crunching through an SMB. We'll go ahead and look at it. So if you see in the bottom here, there's a list of recent events. If you go and look at show all events, you can see every single thing that runs in the back end of Metasploit gets logged here. So if you want to see exactly what parameters we're passing to the msql ping command, or msql ping, that was the wrong button. You can see the parameters being passed in here, basically. That's the module complete. We need the module run. So in this case, you can see we ran the SH version scanner against this target IP. Against this target IP with this port. It's hard to see in the screen. You'll see it better in the hands-on demo. How many threads, et cetera. So every single option of every module that gets run in the back end gets stored, logged, and can be rerun directly from the interface. So we want to go through and rerun the SH version module again because we're not sure that it's working right, or there's some other bug, we're trying to diagnose something. Click on that, bring it up in the interface, configure it however you want to do it, whatever options we want. We show the advanced options, enable evasion, however you want to do it, and tell it to go. And that applies to just about everything in the back end. Every exploit that gets run, every auxiliary module, every brute force. This is still just very slowly crunching along. So this is why we're beta.
It's good everyone can read that.
Was it showing the password?
Yeah, the password was a little bit
Oh. Well, we use the top password lists, which do include things that are top passwords, which aren't necessarily the cleanest of words. Yep. Come on, demo gods. You can hear the fans kicking on. It's got like 8 cores and 12 gigs of RAM, and it's still about to melt down over here. Yeah. So we actually have a real server outside that does it all. Yeah. It's a little slow. See, crunching along. It's not using too much RAM. It's not too bad. Just a little bit laggy right now. Oh, well, this is easy to recover from. I'm going to call support right now. Ah, fine. That should be fine coming back up. It just got locked up for some reason. It's a problem with using, the latest bleeding edge to do demos. It tends to fall apart once in a while. There we go. So we'll go ahead and, so in this case, we know we cracked an account in this box. You'll see the task here shows completed because they died halfway through it. We're going to go ahead and trim it down a little bit to make the demo easier and not use too much of our time. So we're going to go ahead and do a brute force, and we're going to tell it to do just SMB, and we're going to tell it to use the depth of known, so only use the passwords that we've already found, basically. Tell it to go. This should just fly on through. It's going to try, there we go. Successful login, administrator, blank password, shell setup, session should show up here. Here's our session. We go straight to it. So we do things like collect system data. It'll do things like grab SSH keys off the target, steal the private keys, steal your ID RSA files, then reuse those during the secure shell brute force. So lots of fun stuff in terms of how it collects data. You can tell it to go search for files with a certain name, like anything with like pass.xls or accounts.xls. You can tell it to automatically search for all that stuff. While that's running through the data collection side, we're going to go through and look at the VNC desktop feature, which is kind of fun. So you go click on it, and it'll go straight to the target, assuming I enable Java and get exploited by it. There it goes. So sitting around on a Windows 1000 desktop that we went straight to, we're done with it. We can just close the scary blue box that makes the admin scream, and then go ahead and close the window. And if you want to go through and browse the entire file system, there's a nice fancy web browser here for files. You can upload, download. You can even upload and run a backdoor if you have one that uses part of your normal pen test. If you see, we go through and download the boot.ini file. Instead of downloading it directly to your system or uploading directly to your system, it uploads it to the system running Metasploit Express, which then in turn uploads it to the target. So you get a really nice audit log of every single file you download, everything you uploaded, and those all show on the final reports if you want them to. So you can see we downloaded boot.ini. We want to show it. It says, hey, it's a text file. I'll actually show it to you here. And there's the download link here if you want to save a copy locally. And it preserves like the file names and who owns it and all that fun stuff. So going back to the host list again, I know we're about out of time. So you'll see that the host now has changed from cracked to looted status, which means it stole the data off the box, and it's gone a little further than it would have otherwise. And you can see that because we did the data collection on it, it also grabbed a screenshot. So we have a nice little screenshot next to it that shows you exactly what was on the target's machine at the time. Let's go back. And if we scroll down to the, where's my evidence section? Evidence section, you'll see we have the screenshot, we have the note, we have the list of passwords we pulled off the system, we've got the list of processes running on it, we have just basic information about the target, including how long the user's been idle on the console. So you can see whether they walked away or whether they're right there when it happened, and all that which is automated. And since we are running short on time, I'm going to go ahead and move to the reporting section. And you can see if I want just a simple executive summary, you can pull it up, shows you all the targets, all the hosts, what was found, basically what exploits used to get into what targets, what vulnerabilities were exploited, if any, what usernames and passwords are compromised, and you can generate reports without the password data inside it if you need to hand it off to somebody else. The detailed audit report goes into much more depth. So you have your normal host list, then you have your actual screenshots, then you have your services listings, and then you actually have your detailed console logs. So in this case, when we ran the secure shell command, it actually ran interpreter command line here, and this all shows up in the audit logs as well. And let's see. Other reports include your compromised host, your evidence collection, your authentication tokens. So if you want to basically get a giant list of all the shares and the passwords from the target network after you compromise, you can get it from here. And this is all pretty straightforward. If you want a more permanent report, you can generate an actual PDF report or a Word report, XML zip, all straight from here if you want to. These aren't too pretty yet, but we're still working on cleaning those up. So report generation is running in the background. When it's done, it'll show up here in the list. We can then download the report and open it up in Word. And you can see it in its not quite prettiness yet. But when we actually get to beta 3, or if not beta 3, the GA will have the fancy graphs and pictures and charts and all that fun stuff people expect. Also, in case you don't like what we're doing or you want to do it your own way, you can also just go through and run your own exploit. So if there's a module in Metasploit you want to run, the cool thing about the module interface here is that it doesn't take a single target host. You can actually run any given module across the entire network all at once, just with typing in the range. And it handles all automation for you. So for example, if we want to say MSO8.067 and then run that across the whole target network, we search for it, click on it, configure it to do the whole network. What is it, 128? I forget. Oh, yeah, good point, 234, 128. And you notice there's actually no payload option here either. There's the payload connection method, but everything else is automagic. It'll go through and figure out the firewall filters, things like that, and just pick the right port for you automatically. You can say all of your evasion options, other parameters here as well. So you'll see it'll go through and basically run, I think it does 5 hosts at a time, just running the exploit across all of them. And then as it starts getting shells, you see them showing up on the top. I think they're all at like 128 plus in the network though. Let's see. 16, 17. Yeah, so it's going through linearly right now, so it's doing .17, .16, but it'll get there. While this is running in the background, I'm going to go ahead and run to the comparison chart, and then we'll move on to the hands-on demos. So just to run